Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm a travel advisor in Ontario, Canada. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Michelle Plans Travel. So setup is a little bit different today than normal, and it goes along with the fact that I'm changing the whole structure of the video today. In this episode, I am going to give you 3 travel tidbits that I have come across in the last couple of weeks that I think are interesting, and I think they do have an impact on you as a traveler. So I'm going to talk about what the travel tidbit is and then go into what it means for you as a traveler. First travel tidbit. The EU is delaying the launch of the ETIAS into next year. This is one that we have been following. I get a lot of questions about it. So the ETIAS, as I've mentioned in a previous video, is the European Travel Information and Authorization System. And basically, it is going to be something that everybody that does not have citizenship within an EU country or one of the 30 countries that's on this list, and I will put it in the video here for you so you can see that. Anybody that doesn't have citizenship to one of those countries needs to apply for an ETIAS online before they travel to those countries. It's very similar to a Canadian ETA, a UK ETA, or the US's ESTA that you have to get before you go visit those countries for specific people. So once it's in place, you're going to have to go online, apply, pay a fee, and then that ETIAS is going to be valid for either 3 years or until your passport expires. So originally we were told that this was going to be rolling out in the last quarter of 2026. It now seems it won't be rolling out fully until 2027. The Canadian website or the Canadian government website still does have that it's going to roll out between September 2026 and December 2026. They might change that as new information becomes available. But they do caution that it is not available currently to apply for. So if you do see a website that's saying that they will help you apply for the ETIAS, don't believe them, probably a fraudulent website. When it becomes available, only go online to the official ETIAS website to apply for that. Now, I have found something very interesting I did not know before, and it is that any dual citizens of any of these 30 countries that are on this list, any dual citizens, you're going to need both of your passports from that country and Canada in the future to travel to that country. You will be ineligible to apply for an ETIAS. So if your other passport is expired or it's just not usable, you're going to need to renew it or apply for a new one. So very simply put, if you are a dual citizen of Spain, you are going to need your Spanish passport or current valid Spanish passport along with a current valid Canadian passport to travel in between those two countries once the ETIAS goes live. Just a quick note, the Canadian website is also still warning that the EES, which is the entry-exit system where we're getting facial scans and fingerprints if we are not a citizen of one of those European countries, that is still slowing things down through the European airports. So again, if you're booking flights or you're wondering why your travel advisor is making you have a longer layover in Europe, those are things to remember. Santorini caps cruise crowds as Europe tightens controls. What's going on here? Well, as the headline suggests, the number of cruise passengers in the Santorini port is going to be capped. It is already capped, but it's going to be capped at a much lower number. That means that the total number of cruise passengers in the Santorini port at any one time is now going to be capped at 8,000 people, which is down from 17,000 people. So you're going to be letting less than half the amount of people into that port. This is also starting to happen in other ports. We've seen it happen in Venice, actually, where they've banned cruise ships from going into that port, and the cruise ships, the large ones, now have to port and dock at industrial ports sort of outside of the city center. So you won't be going into Venice on a cruise ship anymore. Other ports that are looking at really clamping down on the number of people that are allowed to come off of the cruise ships are Amsterdam and Barcelona. Particularly, those have been in the news lately. There are other ones, of course. So why is this happening? These ports get overrun with cruise passengers on particular days. So imagine that there's 5 cruise ships coming into one port on one day, and you have all of the passengers on those cruise ships, which can be 4,000 or 5,000 people. They're all coming off the ship on one day into one port, and it just completely overwhelms the port. It makes it quite unpleasant, not only for the people who live there and work there, but also for the tourists who are there to spend a longer amount of time. And also, the people that are coming in from the cruise ships, they do spend money. They'll buy souvenirs and things like that. But very often, they're going back to the cruise ship to dine. So they're not spending as much money in the cruise ports as, say, the tourists who are there for a week or two. The ports become really crowded. It's hard to get in and out of shops. I've seen that firsthand in the port of Kona in Hawaii. Cruise day, it was just absolutely nuts in the town. And that was just one cruise ship. So you can see why they're wanting to limit that. When you have that many tourists in town at one time, some of the historical landmarks and things like that can get damaged. And that's what they're finding in these ports, is that it's just too many people to manage at one time. So what does that mean for you as a traveler? You may find that it's harder to get a cruise. So maybe there's fewer itineraries now going forward that are going to have Santorini as a port. And as these other ports in these other countries start to sort of crack down, so Amsterdam and Barcelona, like I've mentioned, you may find that those will no longer be ports of call on a cruise. You might also find that if you've already booked a cruise to those ports, in, let's say, another year or two, legislation moves through, your itinerary may be changed. That is something that you sign up for when you book a cruise. It does have some fine print saying that the itinerary may be subject to change. 3, this one's a little bit more specifically related to Canada. WestJet and Air Canada and some of the other airlines, but the 2 biggies in Canada have slashed a lot of their Canada to US routes for flights this fall or into winter. Now, some of them have only been postponed. Specifically with Air Canada, some of their flights that were set to start in October are now going to be delayed until December, when they think there might be a little bit more demand. We have seen a trend for less travel for Canadians going into the US over the last year or so. I was a little bit surprised at some of the routes, though. So, for example, Air Canada has cut their Toronto to JFK route, which I know is quite popular. Now, you can still fly into New York City going to LaGuardia, and I believe they've kept their Newark, which is New Jersey. It's just interesting because I know a lot of people do prefer to go into JFK. I also found it interesting that WestJet has cut their Toronto to Las Vegas route and their Toronto to Los Angeles route. So what does it mean for you as a traveler? It really just means that you might not be able to fly into the same airport that you normally like to fly into. Maybe you can't take the same routing that you're used to taking. Really, there's ways around this. Obviously, there's different airlines, different airports, things like that. As always, I just want to say thank you for watching this video. I hope you like the newer format. If it's something that you would like to see moving forward, please do let me know. I have noticed that the travel tidbit reels and videos go over really well. I know you like to get some information that maybe you don't already know. And so I just feel like it's my job to impart that information to you. Please do like and subscribe to my channel and follow along as we go on this journey together.